Other inning. La 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 la. They tried to slap that look right off my face, but I'm still grinning. And the money ain't run out yet, so I do believe I'm winning. For all the mess I was, am and will be continuing. And the fun is only beginning. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. Came up today, all the way.
Hello, and welcome to Don't Bury the Lead. We recap WWE SmackDown every Friday night after the bell. But tonight is a special night as we'll be recapping all of 2023 with our SmackDown Awards. My name is John Zindel. I'm joined by Dom Scarcella. Dom, go ahead and tell the people a little bit about yourself.
John, SmackDown is not running any new matches tonight, so we don't have any new matches to talk to. They're doing a recap of the year. Why don't we do a recap of what we've seen on SmackDown and sort of a recap of our channel as well? So without further ado, John, don't bury the lead. Let's take us to our biggest award that we're going to give out here on our 2023 SmackDown Awards.
Let me tell you something, Dom. Many award shows will give you the no-name awards in the beginning, best comedy album, best this, and they leave album of the year for the end. We're going right to the top, and we're
MVP.
MVP of SmackDown. And the way this will be set up, folks, is we're going to give a men's award and a women's award for each of these. And we're starting with the MVP. Pretty obvious description, but the most valuable wrestler in this situation, most valuable wrestler on SmackDown. So, for the men, let me get my envelope here. The award goes to L.A. Knight.
Let me talk to you, right?
Yeah.
This one was kind of easy to do because, first of all, LA Knight's been on SmackDown the entire year. He didn't show up mid-year with the draft. He didn't start off there, get hurt, have to leave, and then come back later. Like, LA Knight's been on SmackDown all of 2023. He's progressively gotten better and better and better and better until he's main event status. And every time he comes on the screen, not only do we like it, but the crowd in the arena seems to like it too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the guy hasn't been in a bad segment, and frequently he's in a segment that saves the show, or his presence saves a bad segment.
Right.
This guy is gold, and he's been doing it all year. It's been a great ascension to watch. He's been very entertaining. He can go on the mic, he can go in his character, and he can go in the ring. But I like LA Knight. Think of where he started as Max Dupree of the Maximum Male Models, then became LA Knight, and then kind of became a joke. And it wasn't easy for him this year as well. Like, he was doing some video game stuff when creative didn't quite know what to do with him for a while. But was there a moment that stood out to you where you said, okay, LA Knight is clearly over with the crowd and he's making the show so much better?
A lot of stuff early on with Bray Wyatt wasn't any good as far as the storyline was concerned and the way that kind of it was creatively organized. Mm-hmm. And no matter what, he was getting over with the crowd, and he was so good on the mic. And it's sort of an anomaly to see a babyface so good on the mic, or really anybody. Sometimes they just kind of follow the template. They say some cringe jokes and they struggle out there. But ultimately, LA Knight hit it out of the park when he got the opportunity each time. And he got holistically over with the crowd. It wasn't anything that someone planned. It's more like, wow, this guy's really good. And they just kept riding with him. So MVP goes to night for SmackDown. I think that one's pretty obvious because we watch SmackDown every Friday night, and every time Friday night we have to look forward to him, and there's no questions asked. Women's, on the other hand, let me get the envelope out here. So thank you here. All right, let's just see. So the women's MVP goes to Bayley.
All right. Someone who hasn't wrestled a ton, but she's been important to the biggest storyline on the women's side, which has not only been the elevation of Io Sky, but sort of the reformation and reloading of Damage Control. And yeah, Bayley is one of those wrestlers to me for whenever she's in the ring wrestling, she's great. But she does so much else when she's not wrestling. Like when she's on the show and when she's in a segment, she makes it better, even if she's not the star in the ring. And I think that's just so valuable. Everything else that we've seen that's been elevated with Damage Control has been elevated off of her. Like she's the foundation that pushes everything else higher with her. I think she's just fantastic. And, I still want to see her wrestle more because she's so good at it.
Mm-hmm.
But everything else that she does has been so great that whenever she's involved, I figure it's going to be just fantastic TV.
So let me tell you, Dom, I will have to say the women's was harder to decide than the men's. The men's was very obvious with LA Knight. But the women's division, and we've said this all year, has been on fire in the WWE. And as far as the women's on the SmackDown side, because we're only talking about the SmackDown side tonight, women's have been on fire, but ultimately Bayley takes it because of her versatility. She kind of has elevated the entire women's division, helping a lot of the younger people, and we'll get into some of the people on Damage Control that she's helped out. And overall, just very helpful for the SmackDown brand. And we have our two MVPs, LA Knight and Bayley. So let's go to our next award here. Our next award is going to be the SmackDown Match of the Year. So, folks,
yes, the rules for this are it has to be a match that appeared on a SmackDown on a Friday night. It can't be a pay-per-view match that involves SmackDown wrestlers or something from Raw or NXT or anything. Something that you and I would have watched on a Friday night, and even better if it was something that was not the night before pay-per-view that we could talk about on a live stream. So what do you got for Match of the Year? What say you on this?
Let's pull out the envelope here for SmackDown Match of the Year. On the men's side, it goes to LA Knight over Finn Balor at the Bray Wyatt and Terry Funk Memorial Show.
Yes. That was quite a night. There was a lot going on that night that was very sudden. It was Bray Wyatt and Terry Funk had passed away just that week. In fact, Bray Wyatt had passed away, I think, within 48 hours of them having to go live on SmackDown. And so you can imagine what it was like for creative and for the wrestlers and for everybody involved to basically scrap a lot of what they had planned on the show and do something else. And while some of the stuff that happened on the show was probably going to happen anyway, we got a Rey Mysterio Grayson Waller match. We got an Io Sky versus Zelina Vega match. We did get a Terry Funk hardcore match, and then we got a really good tribute to Bray Wyatt to close the show. This match only went 11 minutes, but it was a one-on-one match. There were no factions at the ringside, even though Finn Balor's in Judgment Day. Finn Balor was over from Raw. LA Knight was there as a SmackDown guy. And those were two guys who had a history with Bray Wyatt. Finn had some great matches with Bray years ago. LA Knight had Bray's one and only feud that he had been involved in his most recent return to WWE. And I just thought it was such a great match. Like, what a great one-on-one match they had. It went 11 minutes, but it was fast-paced. Both guys worked really well together, even if they didn't have a lot of history together. And at the end, LA Knight recovers, doing that great leap onto the top turnbuckle for the suplex, and then hits the BFT for pinfall. Finn Balor looked tremendous, even though he didn't win. That was maybe the first time we saw LA Knight in a one-on-one matchup where he looked like a star, like they gave him the main event.
Mm-hmm.
They gave him that main event slot, and before that, they let him talk. And I think a match like this that I thought was match of the year and talked to you about, this is why LA Knight was MVP. Because he got to this level where he could do this on a really important show. He could be the guy who had the mic in his hand and then be the guy who wrestled the match that everybody needed. And I just think it was great. I mean, do you remember anything about this match other than, because it was a few months ago? Like, what do you remember about this? Maybe the atmosphere that stood out to you? Because to me, it was, it was really making the best of a somber situation.
I think that there wasn't any schmoz during the match, and it was certainly memorable when he came out and shot the promo and then went over in the match. Finn Balor's always good, and those are the things that are a bit more memorable for me. SmackDown match of the year is a little unique because pretty much the best matches of the year are typically on pay-per-view, but we'll have to go ahead and say, we're a SmackDown show, so we'll talk about the match of the year on SmackDown. And
we're a wrestling show, so we want to talk about a match of the year.
Mm-hmm. Right.
We want good wrestling on TV, on the weekly episodic television show.
Mm-hmm. And we have some people here. We have them on. Actually, this is crazy, but we have people watching on Twitter. It never happened before, but they are now.
All right.
Some people on Twitch. Let us know what you think of the awards. Are they lousy? Are they good? Or are they dead on? Remember, we're only doing SmackDown. So
what say you for SmackDown match of the year? If you want to send it to us in the chat or in the comments. We just chose men's match of the year was LA Knight beating Finn Balor at the Terry Funk Bray Wyatt Memorial Show that ran on August 25th, that Friday after both of those great performers passed away, just days prior. So that was our men's match of the year.
And we had the men's match of the year, but it's time for the women's match of the year. Let me get the envelope here. Pull this out. And the award for women's match of the year goes to Io Sky over Asuka.
Yeah, this was September 22nd. And this was the first time that Io felt like a champion to me. Because we had talked in the months leading up to us that Bayley, who we just talked about being the MVP, was kind of elevating Io Sky. And all of her matches were some kind of obvious interference. And Io was winning, but it's almost like she was someone else's side project. This match with Asuka, and maybe it's because they worked so well together. This match went 19 minutes. It started at 8:52. We have an 8 o'clock start in New Jersey. So this match went over the 9 o'clock hour, that changeover there. They gave them 2 commercial breaks, and they wrestled such a great match. This was pretty much a pay-per-view quality match. And it was so great for me to watch. There was like a little bit of tease of interference at the end, but not real interference. And so it just wound up being a great, almost 20-minute pay-per-view quality match. Asuka was tremendous, putting over her friend, and someone that they knew each other all the way going back to Japan. And Io Sky looked finally like a singles champion to me in this match. And what better time for it? That's kind of recent. It's within the last 3 or 4 months. So maybe there's something beginning of the year. And if people are watching us now, if you think there's something from early in the year that we're forgetting, but I think this was our SmackDown match of the year on the women's side. What say you, John?
Asuka's awesome. So I would say it's not a surprise that she wins, or she's winning the award for match of the year. She's been very reliable. She's done a little bit of a pivot to her gimmick, which is cool. So she keeps it a little bit fresh. Yeah, so that's the women's match of the year. But we have many more awards at this very, very prestigious award show. We have Taylor Swift in the crowd today with Travis Kelce, even though he has a game this weekend. They
Yeah.
both made the trek to the 2023 SmackDown Awards. We thank you guys for coming.
Yes, we can see them. You can't, but John and I can see them up in their luxury box. They look like they're having a great time.
They're having a blast, and we thank them for coming out. We have Dolly Parton in the crowd too.
Yeah.
Pretty unbelievable that she came out to support us. So, thanks so much for all the who's who for being here. But let's keep the show rolling, and let's talk about the important stuff here. So we're going to talk about the most improved wrestlers on WWE SmackDown. And we're going to start from the men's side. So let me get the envelope out here. And the winner of the most improved wrestler on SmackDown is Solo Sikoa.
And this has got to be satisfying for us, and especially for you. When we did our grading video at the end of 2022, we talked about people who were kind of, doing their jobs well, but who hadn't been in the spotlight yet. We noted a couple of dozen wrestlers who we graded at a C, which means they're competent. And then we said, okay, of the people in this grade C, who could we see stepping up? And you talked about Solo Sikoa.
Right.
So I got to say, since we just gave him the award as the most improved wrestler, you have to be satisfied by the progress in his character and his career that you've seen over the last 12 months, haven't you?
I do have to say, it seemed like he was doing a lot of Samoa Joe stuff, which is good. Samoa Joe is going to be wrestling this Saturday for the AEW Championship against MJF.
Yes, tomorrow night, yes.
And
against MJF, we may hear from him later.
he might actually come in via satellite, actually. But we don't want to spoil anything here. Samoa Joe, or excuse me, Solo Sikoa does a lot of like Samoa Joe stuff. He's positioned in such a great way where he's in part of this big bad faction, the Bloodline. And, you kind of said it earlier, alluded to it earlier. He was just kind of the stiff that stands there and doesn't do anything, like the big muscle. But he's progressed into a very good singles wrestler. So, and he just feels like a guy that he's moving in the right direction. He's adding stuff to his game as the year goes on. He's starting to do like a Yahoo scream, so he's starting to add elements to it. So I think
getting a little bit of mic time here and there. So he's more than just a thug. I mean, they've positioned him as the vice tribal chief to Roman Reigns' tribal chief within the Bloodline. He kind of leapfrogged both of his older brothers, Jimmy and Jey Uso, in kind of that rank there within the Bloodline. He's had a great year going from now remember, he was a rookie in 2022, so it's understandable that they didn't give him a ton to do right away in his first 6 months on the main roster. But the potential was there, and we got to see it in 2023, and we think we got the payoff, right?
Yeah, I think he's the most improved, and congratulations to Solo Sikoa. But now it's time for the Women's Award for Most Improved. So let's pull open the envelope here.
And we've mentioned her already. And again, the women's division seemed to have the most turmoil this year as far as top wrestlers being on SmackDown for the first 5 months, then being drafted over to Raw. And then sometimes we see them again. So it was a little tougher trying to choose a women's wrestler, wasn't it?
Yes, because it's so stacked, the women's division. But the award for the most improved women's wrestler is Io Sky. Dom, what do you think of that?
She was a tag team champion with Dakota Kai last year, and we thought they were great tag team champions. And again, we're going to go back to our grading video. We gave them the lowest of the B grades that we gave because they put on great matches and they had belts. But we wondered on the grading video, what happens when they drop the belts? Are their characters strong enough? Because Bayley's sort of doing all the character development for them. What would happen to these two if they suddenly drop the belts? And not only did they drop the belts, but Dakota Kai got hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And then Io Sky emerges as this singles wrestler.
Mm-hmm.
And she's really good at it.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, Bayley's helping her out, but now they're giving her more chances to talk on the mic. They're putting a belt on her and seeing if she can do it. And for the first couple of months, it seemed like she won Money in the Bank. That was a big stepping stone there. And the crowd popped for it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and even before that, she wrestled Bianca Belair in Puerto Rico. And the crowd was on Io Sky's side, even though she was supposed to be the heel. That's the first picture you got, like, oh my goodness, the crowd really appreciates her as a worker. And maybe WWE Creative saw that as well and decided, okay, we have to find something for her to do with her limited command of the English language and not being able to carry long promo segments. But they incrementally got her better at it. Her English has improved. Her promo work has improved. She's shown that she can be a great singles wrestler.
Mm-hmm.
She still feels like Bayley's overshadowing her in the faction as a storyline angle. But there's no question that in the ring, Io Sky has made the transition from just a great tag team wrestler to a great singles wrestler, and from someone who had to be carried almost entirely from a promo standpoint to someone who now has a personality and can show some of it on her own. And I think that's improvement.
Right. All right. So that's
What was your favorite there about the Io Sky moment that we got to see? Because I remember you bringing that up right away at that pay-per-view that, you know, the crowd is cheering Io Sky.
Yeah, that was the moment when it looked like they had something with her. I think early on, I was like, because you were pretty high on Damage Control, and I was like, nah. I was a little bit murky on like liking them, but they've really come along in a long way because of her. And really, the Puerto Rico show really was a standout for me for really where she took off. So
and then she got cheered at Money in the Bank. Like, she didn't get booed when she won it.
Yeah.
She got cheered. So here was the crowd into her, even though Damage Control was supposed to be this heel team, this heel faction. You know, Bayley's still getting booed, but Io Sky, like, the crowd was behind her, and Creative went with it.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Just like with LA Knight. You know, we gave LA Knight the men's MVP. Same situation for him, right? He wasn't supposed to be here.
Mm-hmm.
And the crowd made him do it. I saw a lot of that with Io Sky. She was, to me, most improved on the women's side.
So congratulations to Io Sky, winner of the women's most improved. I'm sure she's ecstatic right now at home as she gets this prestigious award.
Right, yes.
We're going to go on to a special award here, and I'll have to explain this one.
Okay.
This is our Ricochet Memorial Award. This award goes to the person on WWE SmackDown that seems to lose all the time, but puts on good matches and we really like. So people go out and they lose and they're terrible and you're like, okay, cool, like get them off my screen. This is good to get rid of them. But really, the Ricochet Memorial Award is a compliment. You're losing matches, but we still like you. So,
and this goes back to last year when we noticed that Ricochet's really good, but he keeps getting beat.
Right.
We had a short about that. We had an edited video clip about that. We talked about it on live streams more than once. That Ricochet looks really good, and he's making other people look good, which is really important. And he seemed to be a great wrestler. It was obvious that he was really good at what he was doing, even though he wasn't getting his hand raised. He wasn't wearing belts. He wasn't in that position. So Ricochet, of course, is still active. He hasn't passed away. You know, so Ricochet Memorial, just because of what he meant to us. Let's see, do we have a comment here?
Yes, we do have a comment from Kevin Abreu. And
So he's got a Miami Heat avatar there. I like that. Looks like a little basketball avatar there. Jobber control, damage control not working for me because they lose matches. That's understandable that would stick out to you. However, and maybe we'll discuss this, and Kervin, if you want to jump in again into the chat, they're a heel team. Heel factions famously do lose a lot, but somehow keep their gravitas. The Four Horsemen were famous for losing war games all the time, and being steamrolled by Dusty Rhodes and the Road Warriors and whoever. But they were just so cool, and they were so important. And yeah, Damage Control, they're heels, so they're getting their comeuppance a lot, which they should as heels. Does it take away, because we gave Bayley MVP because of the work she's doing there. And we gave Io Sky Most Improved for what she's done elevating as a single star.
And Kerbin, thank you for the comment. Keep them coming in, guys. And I think it's a good point. When people are losing, they shouldn't be getting the awards, but we're going to give it to them anyway because it's on the envelope. We don't even know who's picked these. We're just the hosts.
And the Ricochet Memorial Award is about people who lose that we appreciate.
Yeah, in the vein of losing people. So we're going to give the Ricochet Memorial Award here on the men's side.
Kervin thinks we could have given it to Damage Control.
Right, Kervin, yeah.
Because they lose, but they're still important.
Right. So,
well, we selected 2 singles wrestlers for the Ricochet Memorial Award here. What do you got in that envelope, John?
So let's just open up here. This is not an invoice for some work I had done on my house. This is an envelope. Okay. Ricochet Memorial Award goes to, from the men's side, Butch.
Butch, you got to take this one away because Butch stood out to you early, and you've been praising him every time we get to see him on SmackDown. Talk about Butch. He doesn't have a belt. He doesn't even have a tag team partner at this point because Ridge Holland's turned tail on him and left, and Sheamus has been hurt. So what about Butch makes him valuable even though he doesn't have a belt? He's really not in a belt conversation, and he doesn't even have a strong direction in a big-time storyline.
He loses matches, but they're competitive and interesting. Mm-hmm. And I think his skill set or his move set is really good. He does the finger manipulation, which nobody does. And I can see someone jump off a ladder through a table, and I don't bat an eye. But when he yanks at their fingers, it's unbelievable. It looks so nasty. I'm like, this is awful. So I really like Butch a lot, and he doesn't get a lot of time. But when he does get time on SmackDown, he makes the most of it. So he gets my Ricochet Memorial Award from the men's side. And then from the women's side, let's keep it moving here. So from the women's side, the award goes to Shotzi. Dom?
Shotzi, all right. Now remember, this is a SmackDown. We're giving her the Ricochet Memorial Award for SmackDown, even though, yes, in Survivor Series during the War Games match, Shotzi was on the winning team and was celebrating there. But for most of the year, she was, in a tag team that had to go out and lose, or she was a run-in that got beat up, or she was someone who they didn't know if they had a real long-term program for, but, Damage Control would bully her in the back to try and get Damage Control over as better heels and more formidable heels. She tried to get into a program with Bayley one-on-one.
Yeah.
That was kind of interrupted when Bayley did suffer a real injury at a house show that kept her out for 2-3 weeks. She did the shaving of the head thing. But Shotzi just kept reinventing herself. There she was again and again and again, and going out there on TV, putting other people over, making other people look good. And, we understand what goes into pro wrestling. It's important and I think prudent to recognize people who can do that.
And
who
I
can.
think you even mentioned in the studio here, we're getting to a point, hopefully, where she gets out of the Ricochet Memorial Award and
Mhm.
starts getting some wins. She had a huge win at War Games with the
Yep.
babyface team at
Yep.
War Games. So maybe she gets that push because she's done that so well, and maybe Butch starts to get his push too. We saw it
Mhm.
with Ricochet. You know, he lost all the matches, looked good, and then they started to put him over a little bit.
Yep.
Got elevated, had a program with Logan Paul. So maybe these two can kind of follow in Ricochet's footsteps. They're jobbers, but then suddenly, you know, they start getting some heat and winning some matches. So that is the award that for our Ricochet Memorial Award, who
Mhm.
are people that lose, but look good doing it.
And make the other person look good. Like that's important.
Oh yeah,
That's so important to pro wrestling. Like it's almost like on the women's side we don't see her lap at Natalia,
sure.
right? Natalia goes out there when someone else has to look really good. Like Natalia doesn't win a lot, but she wins in the sense that she gets the other person over and elevated.
Absolutely. And we still have a couple more awards here. Feel free to comment. Let us know what you think of the awards, if we're right, if we're wrong, whatever you'd like. So
Mhm.
moving on here, we do have one comment.
Rumor
Shotzi,
said Shotzi versus Io Sky at the Royal Rumble. Okay, if she's gonna get that push now, that'd be great to see.
yeah. And I'll tell you what, Curvin, keep them coming. That would be interesting. We've just talked about how good Shotzi's been, and she's been losing. And it sounds like she might lose again against Io Sky, but maybe, you know, she does it and she pulls off the W. But moving on here, we're going
Or
to go.
maybe she has another great match putting over the other wrestler and just cements her status as a Ricochet memorializer.
Right. Yeah, she would really hammer the Ricochet Memorial Award if she goes ahead and, you know, hangs
Puts over someone on a
somebody
pay-per-view
else.
title match, right?
Quite frankly, I hope she loses now because that would really just solidify the award. Um,
It would validate us for making up a ridiculous award and giving it to her.
yeah, yeah. And I hope Shotzi's proud. You know, I think she's at home with a tear in her eye as she receives this award.
I hope
Ooh,
Butch is, putting his own fingers into manipulation right now. So happy that he's won this
so
award.
so ecstatic, he's breaking his own fingers.
Dislocating his own digits there. Yes.
All right, moving on here. We have moment of the year at SmackDown.
Okay. And this is
So,
only one moment. We're not going to try and pick a bunch of them. This is one fantastic moment of the year.
so that award, let me get my envelope here. And the award for moment.
I saw the nominees for this, and it looks like some of the nominees were from early in the year. So this would be good if we start talking about early in the year. We don't want to have just a recency bias here where everything we're talking about was second half or post WWE draft. Like a
Yeah.
lot happened before WrestleMania and before the draft. So let's see what happens here. I do remember some of our nominees were from this time of the year.
So the moment of the year goes to SmackDown from Montreal. Sami Zayn's reception. Dom?
Yes. I feel like we shouldn't have anything to say about this because this was moment of the year because it was right before Elimination Chamber, the night before Elimination Chamber, when Sami Zayn had what you and I think was Roman Reigns' best title defense.
Oh yeah.
Like that was the best match that we've seen Roman Reigns wrestle in his title defenses. And the night before, Sami Zayn closed the show. They played his old El Generico theme music, I think. He came out and his hometown Montreal crowd went crazy. I think it's the biggest pop we saw all year was from way back in February. And Sami Zayn got in the ring, and I think he had a microphone with him, but he didn't use it.
Mm.
He stood there the whole time just looking around, grinning from ear to ear because the crowd would not let him speak. It was a reverse Dominic Mysterio situation where they're trying to boo him, off the stage and out of the ring. With Sami Zayn, it was just they would not stop cheering, and SmackDown winds up going off the air.
Mm-hmm.
Like they ran out of time. Sami was still just getting a standing ovation from the crowd. That was like Sami Zayn got so over, and it was such a good reward for him for breathing new life into the Bloodline storyline towards the second half of 2022. And just to see that happen for him, what was fantastic. I mean, you remember watching that, right?
I'll
It
tell
was
you
10
what.
months ago, but we remember that, right?
Yeah, and that Montreal crowd was amazing, and that's really what it, And I kind of talk about this all the time in the show and mention this, but it's pretty much whatever the crowd reaction is really what drives a lot of like what is good and what is bad. And to see the crowd freak out about Sami Zayn, and they kept the momentum going into the next day, and I actually started to pop. I'm like, man, I want Sami Zayn to win and beat Roman Reigns. Of course, it
Right?
doesn't happen.
No.
This is an offshoot pay-per-view, but probably for me that was actually the actual best match of the year, not just SmackDown. But
Mhm.
so we'll give some love to Sami Zayn here for his run, and then we have two more awards here, folks. So let's do one here. This one might be fairly obvious, but we're gonna do storyline of the year.
Mhm.
So let me just get the envelope for storyline of the year. And the storyline of the year goes to the Bloodline and the pivot from their dominance
Yep.
into their, dismay here. So the Bloodline, obviously the best story in WWE, all pro wrestling. For years, I'd have to say. This is probably the best story. What did you think of this award here, Dom?
This is another one where we're trying to get over the recency bias because the Bloodline for the last few months has been very, very little of Roman Reigns on TV. Um, Jimmy Uso being almost a comedy jobber at sometimes. Um, Solo Sikoa being sort of caught in the middle there. Jey Uso's now on Raw. He's completely out of the Bloodline. But for the first half of the year, the turmoil in the Bloodline was as good a wrestling storyline as I can remember since the early days of the NWO. Like
Hmm.
this was the best pro wrestling from a major promotion in 25 years. And I think we'll call the pivot everything up to Jey Uso super kicking Roman Reigns.
Right.
At the end of that one SmackDown, after telling Jimmy, you out, and then saying, and I'm out too, and super kicking Roman Reigns. And what that led to eventually, that tag team pay-per-view match, and then Jey Uso getting a one-on-one with Roman Reigns. I think it was SummerSlam, somewhere around there. So that Bloodline pivot, it was most of the best stuff was first half of the year. But hey, that counts just as much as the second half of the year. And there was nothing SmackDown did after that Jey Uso sneaker to the chin of Roman Reigns that topped what had been building in the Bloodline up to that point. So I think that the Bloodline getting new life breathed into it was the
Mm.
2022 storyline of the year, and them being able to pivot and not just wither away and die, unfortunately, like the NWO did, has been a great job of creative and of all the wrestlers and Paul Heyman involved in the Bloodline. And Kervin is back. Agreed with the Bloodline storyline. Nobody cared about SmackDown, not even watching until the Bloodline got elevated there. Kervin, if you want to jump back into the chat there, tell us at what point the Bloodline became very interesting to you, where now you wanted to watch. No matter what else was on the program, if the Bloodline was there, you wanted to see SmackDown because of the Bloodline. What time range and maybe storyline mini arc was that doing it for you there? And maybe we'll go through that for you, John. Um, at what point was the Bloodline must see TV? for you, because you talked about Roman Reigns and a terrible program he was in with Baron Corbin being a reason you stopped watching WWE a few years ago.
Yeah, that was many years ago, but that was bad.
What
But
changed?
kind of to Kervin's point, the bloodline is SmackDown. It's the reason you watch it, because you wouldn't be really watching it. And we pretty much committed to watching every SmackDown every Friday night, and regardless, just going live afterwards. So Kervin let you know every Friday night after SmackDown we have a show. If you want to go ahead, hit the subscribe button. We're on every Friday night, but
Not tonight, because it's not a real SmackDown.
But not tonight.
We had to do something else.
Right. So, anyways, you know, from my perspective, I think Kervin's right that it's really carried the show. And for me, it was so great with Sami Zayn being a part of it and then really belittling Sami the whole time. That was such a great, interesting dynamic, and like where the crack would happen. And it's almost kind of happened now. It's been quite the slow burn. I mean, it's very, very, very slow burn, but you can see the bloodlines kind of like de-escalated or been kind of shoved down a little bit with Jimmy Uso and Solo and Paul Heyman. Kind of just the three of them typically are there until Roman
comes. Have they done it well, though? This is not like a storyline that fell apart. Like, this seems to be intentional, and I think it's been well done. Like they're breaking up the bloodline on purpose, not because like people don't care anymore and it overstayed its welcome.
Right.
Like, I like where the story's going, and even though it's no longer like the main part of SmackDown anymore because Roman's not there frequently, and so and really LA Knight has maybe supplanted them in the last couple of months as the must-see TV reason for SmackDown, just because he's more consistently on TV and out there doing something. But yeah, for the bulk of the year, the bloodline is the storyline of the year.
Yeah, and we got, this is a good point too. The Tribal Court with Sami Zayn, awesome. 3 million people watching that 40-minute segment.
Yes, that was over on Raw, wasn't it? Raw can afford to waste 40 minutes talking at the beginning of a show. SmackDown can't. I do remember that. Yeah, that's the bloodline angle was so big they kept bouncing it back and forth between Raw and SmackDown. And the WWE reasoning for that was, well, the Usos were the combined tag team champions, so they had to appear on both shows. And Roman at the time was the combined Universal champion, so he had to appear on both shows. But yeah, so much great stuff.
And then we have one last award, and this award is specific to Don't Bury the Lead, our wrestling channel. So Don't Bury the Lead, we're going to have a clicky. And you may be wondering, what is a clicky? A clicky is an award that has gotten us the most clicks for some of our videos, the most views, and we give it to one wrestler. So let's get the envelope here. It's our final award of the night. So get the envelope.
I may have inadvertently blocked myself from sharing screen. Can you unblock me?
Before we give out the award, this is a live show, folks. Before we give out the award,
I seem to have screwed it up.
Uh-oh. This is like the U.S. What is that? A lot of award shows, the last award they blow it. I believe they announced the wrong movie a few years ago at the Oscars, and then they had both casts up there. So let's see here. Settings. Well, you go to share your screen and you cannot do it, Dom.
I apparently blocked. I hit the wrong button when I was closing out before.
All right.
Screen sharing is not allowed. Learn more in our help center.
Do you want to try dropping out and jumping back in?
I could do that.
Do that, and I'll explain the clicky and who won, and we'll go.
Yes, wonderful.
So the clicky goes to MJF. The clicky, this award, is given to us from Don't Bury the Lead to a wrestler who we feel has given us the most clicks to our channel. And that's without question MJF on YouTube here. So we will make little, small, short videos based off of our live streams we have here, and then make those smaller videos into like 3, 4, 5 minutes, something really quick, digestible. And ultimately, it's MJF that wins this award. And we have Dom back, who will potentially share his screen.
Potentially. There is so much potential in this show right now.
And this is our final award, folks. We're going to do another segment here called Cheap Heat, where we talk about trending topics in the pro wrestling world. But we thank everybody here for joining. Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce up in the balcony there. Thanks so much for coming, guys. I know, Travis, you're playing a game this week. And it's amazing that you're able to come out here tonight. Dolly Parton down here in the front row. Dolly, you look great as ever. Thank you so much for coming. And yeah, Dom, are you able to share your screen?
Maybe not. By the way, we should just call this Don't Bury the Lead Taylor's version, just to get a bunch of extra clicks on it.
I should just, yeah. If I put Taylor Swift in the thumbnail and just made the title Taylor Swift, we'd have like 400 people. So
this is I don't know why this it's not letting me buy again.
This is true. Dolly Parton made it. We've got all kinds of celebrities here. 50 Cent. We did not let him in. He's not big enough anymore. But 50 Cent did not make it in. Not big enough for us. We only take A-listers. We've only taken Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift, and here it is. The shared screen. Mr. Spellman said, "Wow, Dolly Parton made it. He's excited."
Aren't we all?
Right.
She's still doing it at her age. She's still out there singing. She's still out there dancing. She's still out there being just a wonderful person.
Mm.
But there we go. It's MJF gets our clicky of the year. This was this was our first video that we made, that you made, John, editing down our longer live streams into edited clips that got us 1,000 views. And this was from July. So it's been very recently that sort of we've been really pleasantly surprised by the turnout for some of our videos and the response they've gotten. You can see we're up to 393 subscribers. And we thank every one of you over there on YouTube. If you'd like to jump in there and subscribe if you haven't yet, please do. See if we can hit our next big benchmark. But is kayfabe dead? Logan Paul and MJF. And really, this was MJF carrying this video. We then did another one a little while later that got almost 1,000. It was just MJF on that Dr. Bo Hightower show getting a massage and shooting on Hulk Hogan. That got us another almost 1,000 views. And then, of course, it was Steiner Math. That was 3 months ago, back in September. This was fantastic. It was just MJF, hearkening back to the old Impact Wrestling days and channeling Scott Steiner. MJF is very talented, and even though we're a WWE heavy show, when we put out MJF stuff, it gets us viewers.
We got more
people like him, and you like him too, especially because you watch AEW, don't you, John?
Yeah, MJF's awesome, and anytime we make a video about him, it seems to pop off. So he wins this year's clicky, and that's our final award We're going to talk a little bit about the people in the crowd here. Dolly looked like trash in that Cowboys get up earlier this year, though. Sorry, Dolly, but F Dallas.
Mr. Spellman, are you not a Cowboys fan? Is that why you're saying that? I have a feeling this is maybe anti-Cowboys rather than anti-Dolly Parton. Which, of course, is acceptable. Sure, hate on the Cowboys. Do it.
Yeah. Dom, you are from the state of New York, so I know you're not necessarily as hateful of the Cowboys, but in this area for sure of South Jersey, which you've been a part of for a very long time.
Yes. Dallas is not welcome here.
Yes. All right. So that is the 2023 SmackDown Awards. MJF will be here later to accept his award. He's so excited that he wins a clicky. This is
this guy, he's won so many things recently. He's still the AEW champion.
Yeah. So
oh no, Mr. Spellman, that was a perfect segue. We were planning to do the same thing.
Right.
It is never too early for cheap heat. We are in the cheap seats and we like cheap heat.
Right. So we're going to keep going here. So
the chair I'm sitting in right now is almost trash. That's how cheap it is.
Yeah.
It is getting cheap in here.
It may be winter, but it is hot and it's getting cheap. So it's time for our next segment, Cheap Heat. We talk about trending topics in WWE, AEW, all pro wrestling, and make short videos of them, like this one you're looking at right now, to get cheap views on YouTube. So, Dom, I know we're talking about the cheapie here.
An audible here for you, since we're talking MJF, and you brought up their pay-per-view tomorrow, which it's MJF versus Samoa Joe.
Mm-hmm.
With MJF dealing with real injuries, I know he's had the longest title reign in AEW. Is it time for him to maybe drop the belt? And is Samoa Joe the right guy to beat him for it, to end that historic title reign? I mean, we talk about, when's Roman going to lose the belt in WWE, but is MJF getting into that territory where when is MJF going to lose the belt? And is the time right now? Would you be upset if Samoa Joe beat him for it?
It would be cool. I think if Samoa Joe won, there might be another guy I feel like that would be a really great candidate. And I think Samoa Joe would be a good champion anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
But Swerve Strickland is a guy that's had a lot of recent success there. A little bit like LA Knight, getting over holistically. And you'll have to watch some of his stuff on YouTube. He's on fire right now.
Okay.
He might be a guy that would be a great candidate to win the title. And I feel like he'll lose it sooner rather than later. I wonder if he does lose it, if he actually is going to WWE.
That's something I hadn't thought about. I just thought that he's been banged up recently, and maybe he needs, because he's a workhorse, right?
He's kind of playing that role a little bit right now, but in the past he's barely wrestled. He's just done a lot of talking. He's made a lot more money with his mouth than his in-ring skill. But he's good in the ring. Don't get me wrong. He's good in the ring. But he's also kind of emphasized that, a lot of the younger guys or I should say even older guys on their roster, they seem to just kind of kill themselves and destroy their body without kind of developing their character, where he's focused on the character stuff. But,
he's got his head on straight for this stuff too. He's not just a guy out there wrestling. He seems to know the business and understand doing this as a career.
Yeah, he'll be around for years, and he'll be a top guy wherever he goes.
All right, very good. That's some MJF cheap heat there, and we may see AEW a little later, but for now, LA Knight, our MVP of SmackDown, he received the key to the city of Hagerstown, his hometown. This guy is mainstream. This guy was supposed to be buried. He was supposed to be a bottom to mid card jobber.
Mhm.
He was losing video game matches. He was crushing controllers backstage and then having Xavier Woods, schoolboy him in the ring to lose. He's now out in his hometown. The WWE stars got a little time off around Christmas time because they recorded SmackDown the week before, and then this week they're off again. LA Knight, he's getting the keys to the city. I mean, you can't hear this here, but he's out there. He's doing the LA Knight. This is not like Baltimore, Maryland. This is Hagerstown. This isn't DC. This is, like kind of a blue collar town.
Mhm.
And they're going crazy for this guy. He is mainstream. What say you about LA Knight's rise to not just being a great wrestler, but this doesn't happen for pro wrestlers.
No, it's crazy that he's able to draw, and you can see in the video, like, really big crowd to just see him. And we're not going to play the audio, but he was way over with the crowd. They're doing all of the gimmicks that he has. It's crazy to see him kind of elevate his game to the point where he's at now, where he can actually have a ton of people in a random town come see him and like cheer for him. So it's not just wrestling fans. I think he's starting to become like a household name, or he might be around the corner from becoming a household name.
Sean Ricker, he's 41 years old, which is not old for pro wrestling. It is on the old side to have your first really big break on a major promotion, though.
He is that's old to be kind of a bottom card WWE guy and a TNA guy, right? Pretty much known for his stuff in TNA.
Yep,
And
Impact, he was a champion. NWA, he was a wrestler sort of in the mid card.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it's crazy to see him get elevated to where he's at now, where he's one of the biggest stars. I mean, definitely one of the most entertaining people on the show, for sure, for WWE.
Hundreds turned out to see him in kind of a small town. That's a big crowd, and they were into this. They're doing the LA Knight with him. It was like a WWE crowd, and this was just kind of very hastily put together because they knew he'd be back in his hometown over the Christmas holiday. And so they just rushed and put this together for him. And, he expected maybe 10 people would show up. And instead it was hundreds.
Mm-hmm.
And he's signing autographs. And this is fantastic. He's up there. He's cutting a promo on people. He's trying to remain somewhat in character while also being just like genuine. He's got to toe the line. He's got to be Sean Ricker and he's got to be LA Knight at the same time.
For sure.
And he's kind of pulling it off. It's almost like what Rhea Ripley had to do when they sent her and Dominic Mysterio to Australia a week or so ago to promo the fact that WWE is going to do a premium live event from Perth, Australia. So Rhea's got to be there in character, but she's also got to be there as kind of the hometown hero.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where Sean Ricker is now. LA Knight, what a story. He's our MVP, and he apparently is Hagerstown's MVP as well. Anything else to add on what LA Knight is doing here, going mainstream?
No, it's nuts. It's when you sent me the article and I looked through the video, I was like, wow, this is really impressive that he's able to kind of draw people outside of like the WWE world and just be in someone's town, his hometown, and get so many people to come out. And just south of us in Hagerstown. So
Hagerstown, Maryland, not too far from southern New Jersey. Yeah, they're talking about his elementary schools, his middle school, his high school, in this thing. But yeah, fantastic. If we were to throw out the number one storyline we're looking forward to in 2024, my number one storyline I'm looking forward to is what they do with LA Knight. Because 2023 was the organic growth of LA Knight, sort of the crowd and LA Knight's abilities, forcing WWE to pull the trigger on something. Now the storyline for 2024 is going to be, all right, now what does WWE Creative do with this? They've been handed a gift. It was unexpected, but it's a tremendous gift.
Mm-hmm.
LA Knight earned it. Sean Ricker earned it. The crowd loved it. It's been a gift. Now, what do you do with this gift in 2024? I'd like to see where it goes. But moving on, how about people who could show up in the WWE? We've talked about The Rock getting ready to do a new movie, and that's going to take him away from being in a wrestling ring. But what if the movie wraps up quickly and the shooting gets over very efficiently? Could The Rock come back to the WWE for something? He's teasing a return here. This comes to us from comingsoon.net. He was meeting with a fan for Make-A-Wish, and he posted this on his Instagram, dropping that old school Rock theme music on Jaden Harden, 15 years old, whom he got to meet. And a little lower down here, Rock says, I told him a little secret that may or may not involve some dude returning to WWE to lay the smackdown on all their candy asses. Who could The Rock be referring to there? Who could this wrestler be who might be returning to WWE to lay the smackdown on all their candy asses? Who does that sound like to you, John?
It is ridiculous that I just made a video about The Rock not returning because he's definitely doing the movie. And then he makes his post like momentarily after I do it. He's like, maybe I will be coming back. So
he's watching Don't Bury the Lead, and he saw that clip that you made, and he's thinking, oh no, I got to tell my fans there's still a chance I could be back.
If he's doing a Make-A-Wish and he said he's going to come back, he has to come back in some capacity, right?
He has to, right?
It's a part of the wish. You can't say, oh, I think I might come back and then not come back, right?
You can't tell sick kids that you're going back to wrestling and then not go back to wrestling.
No, that would be a very bad heel move. I don't think he's going to be that deep into the heel sphere, right?
And Dwayne Johnson does not want to be a heel anymore. He may play a rough and tumble guy in a movie somewhere, but as an A-lister in Hollywood now, he wants to be total babyface.
Yeah, he's got to put himself over to get them Hollywood paychecks, man.
And you've got to be a babyface with kids who have illnesses. Come on. So yeah, we got to keep our eye on this, right? The Rock may be coming back. There's a lot of negative and toxic noise out there in the world, but there's a lot of positive, good things too, and Jaden is one of them. Mm-hmm. You know what would be a negative and toxic noise? If The Rock just lied straight to Jaden's face about returning to the WWE.
He should come back on a SmackDown so we can watch it and take a video of it.
He has to, or else he's toxic. He has to be one of the positive good things now for Make-A-Wish. Someone else who could, who's teasing a return to the WWE, it's Sasha Banks, Mercedes Moné. If CM Punk can return to the WWE, then I guess anybody can, right?
Yeah, I think if
The Rock can, Sasha Banks, Mercedes Moné can, anybody can come back. Sasha Banks, she's tweeting out pictures of her in front of the arena where the WWE was holding an event that day. What say you, and would you want to see Sasha Banks there? One of the sticking points seems to be that she wanted a contract that was above apparently what Charlotte Flair got in her new WWE deal. Do you want to see Sasha Banks back in WWE? And two, would you pay her more than you're paying Charlotte Flair to get that done?
Yeah, I would. I think she has some unsettled business outside of WWE. I don't think you can wrestle one match and two matches and then make a big comeback to the WWE, or I wouldn't necessarily want her to, because I think she could probably up her game, which she seemed like on the direction to go. With Mercedes Moné, it seemed like the gimmick was adjusted a little bit, and I would want to see her, from my perspective at least, do some stuff with New Japan, do some stuff with AEW, wait till that wears off, and then go back to the WWE. But, whatever, if they're going to give her a ton of money, if they're going to back up the truck and pay her a ton of money, man, I believe it looks like the formula for success with WWE is throw a fit, quit, and then they'll pay you a ton of money. That seems to be worked out well for Cody Rhodes, CM Punk. They got crazy contracts and left on bad terms. And then in addition, now if it's Mercedes Moné, who was the tag champ and vacated the title, she threw it in the office and left. So, yeah, for all those wrestlers out there right now in WWE that are looking for a pay bump, just throw a hissy fit and leave. It looks like they'll just pay you a lot of money to come back.
But you have to have some talent, like Cody Rhodes, CM Punk. These were guys that were really talented. Is Mercedes Moné a big enough deal? Do you think the crowd, the WWE fans, would want to see her back?
Yeah. If she came back, they would, the roof will blow off. Wherever she goes, if she goes to AEW, if she goes to New Japan, I thought she was probably, for my money, the biggest star, or could have had the potential to be like the top woman in WWE. So
she was one of the four horsewomen, wasn't she?
Yeah.
Charlotte, Bayley, Becky Lynch, and Sasha Banks, right?
For my money, she was my favorite of the four. So,
okay.
Yeah. So I always liked her a lot, but.
Okay, high praise. Hey, we're giving out SmackDown awards here, so in Cheap Heat, we're saying, hey, Sasha may have been the best of the four horsewomen, and at the moment, she's the only one not there.
Asuka's my favorite in WWE, but yeah, I'd say Sasha was. She's really stiff. A little bit like oh man, I'm blanking on her name.
Is Sasha a stiff wrestler? Because she looks like she's thin. She looks like she'd be more of a high flyer in gymnastics person.
Yeah, but she's nasty. She really brings it. She's stiff. She reminds me of Fabulous Moolah. That's what I was going to say.
Wow. Okay. There's an old one. All right.
Yeah.
Able to work stiff in the wrestling ring. Okay. Very good. Speaking of AEW, Chris Jericho went off on CM Punk's lawyer on Twitter. This was apparently over whether or not there's a non-disclosure agreement and whether people can talk about CM Punk, what happened backstage that led to his suspension and then his firing. And Chris Jericho saying, hey, Stephen P. New, I don't adhere to an employee handbook. I've never had one in 4 years of working for AEW. I've also never signed a non-disclosure agreement in my life ever. So here he is yelling at a lawyer. Good for AEW, not good for AEW that the CM Punk AEW side of the story is still in the news? Or is this something that they have to do? I mean, if CM Punk's going to be in the news for his big WWE return, they may as well get some publicity out of it too. I mean, let's say you as an AEW watcher and as a guy who's seen Chris Jericho more than I have recently.
Jericho, I really like him a lot, and I know he's been getting dragged through the mud a little bit with the internet. The IWC, if you will, has been like kind of trashing him, but I think he's really good, and it's a lot of it's undeserved. But this goes back to the old something I always say, like Twitter is just not worth it. You just will tweet something so dumb to Stephen P. New. Like, who is this guy? He's like Jim Cornette lawyer guy. Like this, he let the trolls get to him, and he lets out this real nasty, long-winded tweet. And it's like, it's not really going to help you in the long run. And it's like, and this is for a lot of people. Russell Wilson just got benched with the Denver Broncos. Okay. And he's on Twitter liking all these posts that were critiquing him getting benched. And then you can look at his likes, and he's just like liking all this stuff. And it just makes you, and he's like squeaky clean image, and he's liking all this stuff. And it's like, dude, Twitter is no longer a place that develops you or that where you can build your brand. It's a place where you only can erupt your brand. So I just think that, you know, I don't know what time. I know this was late at night too, right? These tweets. I don't want to. It was like late at night on a holiday that he's popping off on Twitter. I just say there's no point to be on it. Delete the app.
Does this also just bring up an ugly incident from AEW that AEW would rather not
just move on?
Remember?
Yeah, it's over. he's fired. It's over. It happened a year and a half ago. Just try to move on for it. Try not to bring it up too much, and then move on from it.
We should also say that it's not that Chris Jericho seems to have heat with CM Punk.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the idea that these guys shouldn't have any ability to talk about or discuss what happens at their jobs, and lawyers saying, "Oh, you have non-disclosure agreements, and your handbook says you can't talk about it." And Jericho is feeling like, "Wait a minute, buddy, you're not here. You don't know." Because apparently Jericho sent a tweet after CM Punk defeated Dominic Mysterio in his first match. It was at a house show back in WWE. He sent him back a congrats, fire, fire, fire. Now, maybe we could read a little more into this. He's not talking about CM Punk, you're on fire. He's talking about the 3 times that CM Punk has been fired from wrestling promotions. So I don't know. Because should we start some controversy here? Congrats. Guy who's been fired. I don't know.
Oh, I did not pick up on that.
I did not either. Is this subliminal advertising by Chris Jericho, or is he really happy for CM Punk?
Ooh.
Because he seems to have been on CM Punk's side in the fight.
Yeah.
What was he? Did you get the impression that Jericho was on Punk's side or on the side of the EVPs in AEW when this all went down?
I don't think anybody was really on Punk's side. He went to a press conference. He said he trashed all these guys. Then they got in a physical confrontation right after it. And I don't think that anybody was really necessarily on Punk's side. But I don't know.
Okay.
I think most people were probably rolling their eyes like, this is annoying. We have to do this. That's really that's like any fight in a locker room. You're like, oh, come on, boys, break it up.
AEW star Chris Jericho took the opportunity to send his well wishes to CM Punk. So it's being interpreted in wrestling media that this was Jericho has no ill will towards Punk. And so I would tend to believe that.
Let's stir the pot a little bit. No, we say fire, fire, fire because he got fired.
Okay. Like he could have put smiley faces there, thumbs up, the muscle thing.
Yeah.
He could have put the party hat, congratulations. He could have put a lot of things there. He put fire.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So yeah, let's read way too much into late night tweets that wrestlers shouldn't be making anyway. Because who does that?
Right.
Yeah, let's be those people on the interwebs. Hulk Hogan. Speaking of one of those people on the interwebs, Hulk Hogan, his wrestling days are done, but he keeps appearing in the news. And hey, full disclosure, we like Hulk Hogan here, and we've done some cheap heat stories on him before, and fans on YouTube seem to like Hulk Hogan as well. He and his wife got baptized at a Florida church very recently, in which Hogan says, only love. We've talked about him having his bar down in the Tampa area, and EC3 visiting him recently. But 70-year-old took to social media to announce that he, along with his third wife, Sky Daly Hogan, had been baptized at a special ceremony held at Indian Rocks Baptist Church. And he was not trying to do this for wrestling giggles or whatever. Seems to be sincere about it. Also posted some pictures with that tweet online. And it also harkens to a tweet he made towards the Easter season this early spring, where maybe he was alluding to what would happen later. But he seems to be genuinely a guy who maybe in his older years is just thinking about his life more. He's got more on his mind, and he has a spiritual side to him that's not always, just acting and trying to put on a face for people. Or at least you would hope. You would hope that we see wrestlers and these guys as just two-dimensional personalities.
Yeah.
And you would hope that they have a chance to be real people with, you know, some depth to them in their real lives. And so if this is where the Hulkster is going, if this is where Terry Bollea is going, uh, wonderful for him and for his wife and for their future.
More power to him. I think this is a good story.
Yeah.
This is a cool thing to do. And you know, I'm sure that it's been a kind of a crazy life for him. So maybe to calm down, put things into perspective, you know, and take the leap here and go for it as far as, you know, taking this step in his life. We're kind of joking a little bit backstage, you know, Hulk Hogan, he's still always in character, like, you know, Christ is king, brother.
Through the power of my Lord and Savior, and so it is, even now, brother.
Brother.
Amen.
He's
Like,
still...
did brother need to be there?
he's still Hulk Hogan. Like he's not letting that part of his life go. So he's
Would you actually type that? Like you're sitting down to type and you type, or is he using like voice to text and he just couldn't help it and he just said brother?
he couldn't help himself but to add elements of his wrestling gimmick from the 90s in there.
Even now, brother, amen. So, hey, new priorities. Good to see. You know, people grow. Growth is a lifelong endeavor. Hey, and one more positive story here in Cheap Heat. Gunther, longest running intercontinental champion in WWE history, not just in the modern era post Monday Night Wars, of all time. He and his wife, wrestler Ginny, welcomed their first child this past week. This morning, our son entered the world. What a blessing. This was from December 27th. So a couple of days ago, within the last 3 days or so, Gunther, his wife, and their new son. They're at this point in this picture, day-old son. So wonderful news for Gunther. Great that they've had some time off. And so he was able to be there for this. And
as a guy going through that right now, I will have to say, give me a sec as the baby is crying. So Gunther, get used to it.
yes,
and that baby is going to have some hard chops in the daycare. Just to be aware for the employees working at the daycare. Watch out for that baby.
he will be the daycare general. He will, yes. There, I guess we could say, is there a new member of Imperium now? Gunther and Ginny welcome their son. Gunther and Ginny apparently met while doing NXT over in the UK. Longtime members of the WWE universe should be familiar with Gunther's wife, whom he married in a small ceremony earlier this year. Ginny had a memorable NXT UK run for a few years before ultimately retiring due to injury in January of 2023. She had memorable feuds with Rhea Ripley, Isla Dawn, and Piper Niven throughout her NXT UK career. Gunther and Ginny met while competing on the British independent scene and have been inseparable ever since. So their careers were each on the ascension, and of course they seem to have been there for each other, and they join, I guess, some other very famous WWE wrestling couples. Probably most well known in the modern roster would be Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch, but also Ricochet. He of the famous Ricochet Memorial Award given out here by Don't Bury the Lead this evening. Ricochet and is it Samantha Irvin is his wife? The ring announcer, great ring announcer, and also a singer in her time away from WWE ring announcing. There have been others as well in the wrestling business. Charlotte Flair and Andrade of AEW, El Idolo, Andrade, I believe, are a wrestling couple. Rhea Ripley and another wrestler are also engaged at this point. So There are some wrestler couples out there. I believe Jimmy Uso and Trinity are also together.
Mm-hmm.
So Gunther and Ginny, another one of these wrestling couples, these real power couples in the pro wrestling scene. So wonderful news for them that they were able to meet as wrestlers, and that apparently their relationships helped them. Because it's got to be tough being a pro wrestler. It's a weird job to have full time, isn't it?
Yeah,
We
they
were
pretty much
involved in
have
pro
no
wrestling
choice
on
but
the indie scene, just doing it once every month or two. It's got to be a weird job to have full time, right?
It seems like they all kind of are in relationships with each other, because like it's got to be tough going from town to town to town, city to city, crazy lifestyle. But
and who else would understand?
There's no relatability,
right?
At all. Like, don't you hate when you fly here and you're stuck, and then suddenly you're in the stadium? And no, it's like what? No, I don't fly or go to stadiums. You know,
like maybe Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce can relate to each other. Up there in the luxury box here at the Don't Bury the Lead SmackDown Awards tonight, having a great time. Just had some more hors d'oeuvres and champagne delivered up there. So wonderful. This Don't Bury the Lead, Taylor's version of Don't Bury the Lead tonight,
right.
Which we will call it just to see if we get a few extra million views.
If we just say Taylor Swift and the transcript picks it up,
yes.
Hopefully it boosts the video.
Just Taylor's version. Just name it. If you're a musician out there and you're looking for some advice on your next release, just call it in parentheses Taylor's version.
Mm-hmm.
People will search for that and see yours and just go. But by the time they realize it's not her, you'll have already made a few sales. So
well done.
Wonderful stuff here.
Do you have anything else for? Do we have anything?
I think that's it for Cheap Heat for this evening. Unless you want to talk a little Cheap Heat about Don't Bury the Lead. How about Most Improved? Don't Bury the Lead to you and I. It's been one heck of a 2023.
Yeah.
We've done all of the premium live events this year after just kind of dipping our toe in and trying Survivor Series at the end of 2022. We have done all of those premium live event pay-per-view events this year. We did special shows for who would win in a real fight in our WrestleMania preview. What matches are we most looking forward to? We started to format our shows more.
Yeah.
So you get things like the lead, the follow, the thumb drive, Cheap Heat, and the Italian goodbye. Like we are improving. Most improved goes to Don't Bury the Lead. If you're watching us on Twitch, Facebook, or Twitter, thank you very much for finding us. But just know the mother load is over on YouTube. Search for the Don't Bury the Lead channel, a wrestling channel on YouTube, where not only are all of our live streams, but also the great edited clips that John makes and the shorts that John makes off of our longer shows. Subscribe, help us out. It costs you nothing. There's no paid subscription to Don't Bury the Lead here. It's just a click of the button and you get alerts when we put out some new content. And who doesn't want to hear about new content from Don't Bury the Lead?
At $0, it helps us a lot. And let me tell you something, Tom. Big game changer this year was getting the backgrounds so we could actually have some organized segments. I think that it helps the flow of the show so much, because before we were going through everything and there was no visual aid. So ultimately, at the end of the day, it got a bit, it's tough for the viewer to follow. But I think we're seeing people follow now. We even had Mr. Spellman talk about Cheap Heat, which means he's been here a couple times. And thanks for everyone who kind of participated today.
Yes, thanks to Kervin for those comments on some of our awards that we were giving out. If you're watching after the live stream and you want to leave us comments about any of the awards you heard us give out, that perhaps you disagree and would like a different MVP than LA Knight or Bailey, You would like a different match of the year than LA Knight versus Finn Balor at the Bray Wyatt Terry Funk Memorial Show, or Io Sky versus Asuka, the title match from September. If you have a different most improved wrestler than Solo Sikoa or Io Sky, if you have a different favorite wrestler that you think is really valuable, even though they don't win a lot, other than Butch or Shotzi, hey, let us know about that. Did you have a bigger, more satisfying moment of the year for you than Montreal's reception for Sami Zayn on that eve of Elimination Chamber? And do you have a better storyline than the Bloodline pivot that really was awesome for the first half of the year, and now we're seeing little bits of it slow down somewhat, but still there? If you have any other awards that you would put in place of what John and I selected, let us know. Who's your MVP? What's your match of the year? Who's your most improved wrestler? What are your best moments and storylines? And what wrestlers that are perhaps unsung in the pecking order of WWE TV do you think deserve a shout out like Butch and Shotzi?
Right. And we're at 393 subscribers. And you know, at 393 subscribers, we're close to 400. You could be close to 400. Total of 189,000 views. So we're close to 200,000 views at this point. So really been a lot.
Who wants to subscribe to Don't Bury the Lead and then binge watch every bit of our content at this holiday weekend for New Year's to get us over 200,000 hours, to get us over 200,000 views and bring us up in the viewing hours as well? Who wants to do that? You can get us on your laptop, your desktop, your tablet, your phone, maybe even your internet-connected watch, your smart TV. We are everywhere. Don't bury the lead.
And that's a short. Yes.
We are into the Italian goodbye night. John, it's always sweet sorrow to part at the end of these shows. And we can never do it quickly, can we?
No, that's why the Italian goodbye exists. You know, typically it's, all right, folks, have a great rest of your evening. And then the music plays and that's the end of the show. But our end of the show is a little bit different. We call it the Italian goodbye because unlike an Irish goodbye, when you would just cut off and that's that, this is the Italian goodbye. So we kind of start up other conversations as we're heading through the door, and then we stand there for a while, and we'll keep talking and keep talking and keep talking.
If you're Italian like me and you got to leave a party at 10 p.m., you got to start saying goodbye no later than 9:30, or you will not make it.
You will not make it.
It just takes too long. There's too many side conversations that just pop up. And I've noticed that I've been doing podcast interviews where I've been an interview guest on some podcasts recently. I Italian goodbye everyone. It's just part of who I am. I can't not do it.
I can't not Italian goodbye. You still have.
I can't.
Mm-hmm.
I can't just say like bye and leave.
You can be like, you'll be leaving it, and you were talking to someone like an hour ago. It's like, hey, I was just thinking about what we're talking about, and one more thing I forgot to mention to you, and then you're like, and then oh, cool, and like maybe you had a good conversation, then you started back up. You know? Mm-hmm.
Yes, but like that's for the non-goodbye portion of the festivities. Like the goodbye is supposed to be put a bow on it. Let's head off to the next thing that we're supposed to do or whatever. No, man, I just can't do it. I can't give a quick goodbye.
Right.
They're messy. They're all over the place. They drone on and on. It's too long. It's just and this is it's December 29th here, as you can see on our screen. So there was no regular SmackDown this evening. There were no new matches, even though there have been some house shows this week. I guess they didn't want to go through the trouble of piecing together a pre-recorded show from a house show somewhere. So they just sort of, apparently WWE just ran a best of the year show. So John, you and I ran a best of for Don't Bury the Lead. What's the best stuff we've seen from SmackDown? I want to give us not only a most improved, but a most improved, but I think doing this show has been a great MVP for me.
No,
this has been a lot of fun. Like I look forward to this now.
I love it. No, it's been a blast. And Dom, know what's so great is we started doing this as content. Didn't know anything about like what a content creator was. Didn't know anything about like YouTube and thumbnails and how to make a video and how it should work. We just pressed record. The first day we did it, we were both completely off on the different tracks. I was like, we had different concepts. Like I was just going to say, here's the match. Did it go good? Here's what I liked. And this is what happened. And then move on to the next match. You had an idea, which we stuck with, talk about the biggest match and go down to the lower matches So just even that one little change was like one little improvement. So I feel like over this past year or so, it's just been like a little improvement here. Make the thumbnail a little bit better. You just did it right now. I know I'm going to make this into a short. You're going to scream like crazy. That short will pop off. We'll get 700 views for that thing. Trust me.
Oh, there we go. Right.
We'll get 1 subscriber, but you wouldn't have done that before, right? So.
No, because we wouldn't have had all this great stuff to talk about, like edited clips and shorts and all these subscribers who are finding us. And I know we sound like all these subscribers with, a little under 400 here. To us, that's in all these subscribers. It seems like just yesterday we were, we still have them. We had our 100 glasses that we were wearing for 100 subscribers. I even kept the plastic bag in case we were using them again. Like it just seems like it was so not that long ago that you and I were just thrilled to be looking like this on our live stream.
That's true. You should pop. Yeah. When we had 100, so was that 100?
Yeah, this was at 100 and it wasn't that long ago.
No.
It was middle of this year. Now we're closing in on 400.
Mm-hmm.
This is fantastic, which I could maybe just extend the 1 here a little bit and then make it come across for a 4. We could do all sorts of stuff. I could put another 0 at the end if we get to 1,000. There's so many ways that these glasses can be modified for the new heights that we are seeking here. So
I'll tell you
in the comments, tell us, should we have more glasses for the next huge benchmark, and what should that benchmark be? Should it be 1,000 subscribers? Should it be 3,000 watch hours? Should it be what? What should the next big benchmark that we really talk up here on Don't Bury the Lead be? And it's not just us talking, patting ourselves on the back. We're patting on the back everybody who's doing this. Like John and I aren't subscribing to our own channel 393 times.
Right.
That's not really like I subscribe, so 1. So there's 391 others of you besides John and I.
Mm-hmm.
So when we talk about 393 subscribers and how awesome that is, we are patting you on the back and thanking you for subscribing. And, as much as we've watched our own videos doing game film and going, trying to critique ourselves, all those views and all those watch hours, we're celebrating that all of you are watching these videos and apparently enjoying them. Leave us a comment. We're getting comments on some of our videos, and we're getting comments under the comments. And not just from us, from people in the Don't Bury the Lead audience.
Yeah.
Conversing with each other. That's fantastic. It's like John and I, we don't even have to be there.
Right. They're just going back and forth about how they feel.
That's fantastic.
And tonight
we love it.
Thanks a lot, Mr. Spellman. Coming a bit of a regular. Appreciate that, Jay. So thanks for hanging on tonight with us. We also had Kevin Abreu, or Kervin Abreu.
Kervin was here, yes. Thank you, Kervin.
Some really good insight, too. I really liked a lot of the stuff you had to say, Kervin. So I hope you subscribed, and if you didn't, I'm going to track you down and ask you to subscribe. I'm not going to lie. I'm already about to look up your
We want to see you again.
We want you back, Kirvin. We want you
We
back.
do.
So I hope, I know you're off because you're not on YouTube right now, but we want you back, buddy. So yeah. So what I'll do here is
We used to say that at the end of NJCW shows, if I had to have the microphone there as Doc Lester and close the show. I thank everybody, ask them to find us online and say, hey, drive safe. We want to see you again back here. Thank you so much.
yeah.
You know, something to that effect. So yeah, we want to see you back here.
Yes, we want to see you both back here. I know, Jay, you're going to be coming a lot, it seems like. So keep that up. That's really fun, man. The comic relief.
So I'll share a secret with you.
What's that?
John and I would do this even if nobody watched. But it's a lot cooler that people watch.
Yeah.
The first few times we were doing this, nobody was watching. There was nobody there, just us. And now there's other people. There's all these people. It's fantastic.
We had people coming in and out. We had around 5 people tonight at certain points, but people were popping in and out.
Very good.
Irvin and Mr. Spellman hung around. We had 3 on YouTube, always 1 on Twitch. And right now we have 2 people. We have 1 on Twitch and 1 on Facebook. So, hey, if you're on Facebook right now, why don't you send us a comment? What did you think of the show tonight? Have you listened to us before?
Mm-hmm.
And, give us a comment. We like the feedback.
Excellent work. So what are we looking at here for the new year? Let's spin this forward. SmackDown is apparently going to do a huge show for the first Friday of 2024. There's going to be some title. There's going to be the finals of the U.S. Championship tournament there. Might see some other big matches they've been teasing. We had maybe a rumor that they're going to be announcing a Royal Rumble match for Io Sky for the women's title. We're going to get a triple threat match, Randy Orton, LA Knight, and AJ Styles to see who's next in line for Roman Reigns. So a lot of big matches here. I'm looking forward to see where the LA Knight storyline goes. Mm-hmm. I know I've mentioned it before, but that's a big deal for me. Almost the big moment of the year. We didn't talk about it. We talked about him being MVP. If you want to know what was the moment when LA Knight arrived, it was the SmackDown right before WrestleMania. He was not on the main WrestleMania card. He was in the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal that they had moved to the Friday Night SmackDown. They didn't even put it on WrestleMania on either the Saturday or the Sunday. And LA Knight was getting huge cheers. And when he was eliminated, the boos rained down over that stadium.
Right.
That's when LA Knight arrived. When there's 30 guys in a battle royal and everybody is living or dying based on what happens with him.
Mm-hmm.
That was the moment. So there we go. Is there anything else we'd like to talk about before we put a bow on not only tonight's Don't Bury the Lead, but on this year, 2023 of Don't Bury the Lead?
Oh, yeah. So I'd say this, Dom. It's been a great night. It's been a great year. Awesome job editing and keeping us all together. Kind of playing the color commentator, if you will. Sometimes I'll say some stuff and then give it to you, and you give a long-winded breakdown, which is really helpful because it gives a lot of details.
I am very good at long-winded. It's related to the not being able to not do an Italian goodbye.
You're perfect for this format. We need it to be long, and it needs to. It's not like you're just not saying anything. You're saying stuff, but it's like all about the wrestling, and you have a lot to say. You take good notes. So, bang. What am I supposed to, so it's good to rely on you there. And then in addition to that, the format looks great. And then when you did the format for the rankings.
That was fun. We
Yeah.
may have to bring that out again, maybe for the next WrestleMania.
I want to do something using that, where we would take that and actually, we would take that format, but we would do something along the lines of who should win, who should knock off Roman Reigns. Do you think we could do
and
that?
sort of like give our rankings 1 to 5 or 6 or whatever, how many, who we think should do it.
Yeah,
Okay,
maybe we do that.
I'm up for that. That sounds like a fun list to go through. Hey, you've told us so many times people like to count.
They love counting.
People like to count. I mean, and people like lists and ranks and counting. And if we could combine them all together,
Mhm.
where people can count from 1 to whatever, 5, 6, 7,
Yeah, that'll be
and
cool.
do it in a list. Yeah,
We could do a list. Do you think you could do more than 5, or is it
I think we could do more than 5, especially since the names would be shorter than a whole match.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I think we could do that. That could be a lot of fun.
Because I want to throw some silly ones in there too. Because I really want to do Hulk Hogan.
Okay.
Because Hulk Hogan gets so many clicks. So I want to make a single video of us talking about how and the video will be Hulk Hogan will beat Roman Reigns for the for the WWE Championship.
Universal title. Okay.
Like that'll be the title.
Okay.
It's going to be Hulk Hogan. People are like, "What the hell?" Click into it, and it's us talking about Hulk Hogan. how he's
Which we would do.
Right. I want to do it just for that video. I'm not gonna lie. Or Top Dollar. Top Dollar is going to be the one that knocks off Roman Reigns.
There are lots of possibilities, and the longer it goes, the bigger deal it's going to be when someone finally beats Roman Reigns for the belt, right?
Absolutely.
So the longer this goes, the more special they have to make it.
Mm. All right, Dom. Well, I think we've talked a lot here, so I appreciate you jumping in here, and I appreciate your kind words about the editing. Just to I should say, just to make sure it's understood. All the stuff you've done has been very helpful. It's great you jump on all the calls, and you carry a lot of the topics, and then in addition to that, the stuff you've done so far with the backgrounds has been really great. It makes the show look a lot better. So thank you so much.
We look like we know what we're doing.
Yeah, we know what we're doing.
Don't we? Tell us in the comments. Do we seem like we know what we're doing here?
Does it seem like we know what we're doing?
Are we winging it? We're winging it. We're winging it, but do we look like we're like maybe half winging it? Half know what we're doing? Do we know like we really know what we're doing? I mean, this is like the Macho Man wanted to have the whole match scripted, but then other guys would want to call it in the ring.
Mm-hmm.
We kind of know where we want to go to the finish.
Mm-hmm.
And we know the high spots we got to hit, the lead, the follow, the thumb drive, cheap heat, and the Italian goodbye. But we kind of call it in the ring.
I agree. We
call it in the ring. And hey, since we didn't get to do it today, 2023, don't bury the lead. Thumbs up or thumbs down?
Thumbs up.
Thumbs up. Thumbs up for it's been a good year overall for SmackDown. I've enjoyed watching it, and then doing Don't Bury the Lead has made it even better. What? Thumbs up for SmackDown. Thumbs up especially for us and for everybody who's taken the journey with us this past 12 months and really the past 15 months since we started.
That's hilarious. In what situation when we put thumbs down? That means we got to stop the show.
Right.
But all right. Thanks
thumbs
so
down
much.
is like the Irish goodbye. If a thumb goes down, it's like click.
Click. It never plays again. All right, Dom. Well, thanks so much for joining. Pleasure as always. Thanks for everyone out there who hung in there. Just if you're watching now, check out our YouTube channel, check out the videos, and subscribe. But thanks for hanging in there, and have a great rest of your evening.